is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Bridging to Geekdoms. I'm your host, Robert Slavinsky. With me over on that side there is Mr. Colton Payne. How's it going, buddy?
Howdy.
This is a special episode of Bridging to Geekdoms, I guess you can say. We are part of the UsUnited More Than a Hashtag event. This is amazing. It's fantastic. We are raising money for the Autumn Snyder Fund, which benefits the AFSP. In doing so, we are celebrating the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League and thanking Zack for all that he has done and all the hard work that he put in. So thank you so much for joining us today. There have been a couple amazing shows already. Pulp Culture Corner just ended. Amazing show that they had interviewing Ray Porter stopped by. Ray Porter Darkside stopped by his show a little bit ago. So that was amazing.
Shot off a few Omega rays. We didn't know what to do. Said something about Annie life and then just left. It was weird.
Four nerds kicked off the show earlier today, which was fantastic. So here we are. Here we sit. We are now the third show in to the UsUnited event. So what's going on, man? Let's do something here, Colton, because we haven't technically gotten into your take of the Snyder Cut. We had a show earlier the other day, and I kind of want to get your take on what your first impression was of watching that movie, waiting for it essentially for 5 years. What was your take?
It came out last week. Hi, George. It came out last week? Something like that. Hi, Geek Studio. Hi, Chase. We'll get to my take eventually. I still can't rationalize why they released the cut in 2017. Yeah, restore the Snyderverse. But I don't understand it, because that movie, if anything still needed filmed, it looked pretty polished, except for Cyborg, really. And if that's all that needed done, why didn't you just release that film?
Yeah, absolutely.
It just doesn't make sense. I mean, after watching it, I was like, holy shit, that was amazing. And then Nightmare Scene was even more dope. I will say I've gone on record for hating Jared Leto's Joker, but I like his Joker now.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of the most shocking thing, I think, for a lot of people, was seeing Jared Leto, in a different light as the Joker than what we saw him in Suicide Squad. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. And the journey that it took to get to this moment, it goes far beyond even all the shenanigans that happened in 2017, where everything changed to the Justice League version. I mean, this goes all the way back to 2012, from Christopher Nolan picking Zack Snyder to direct the first entry in this DCEU, essentially, of Man of Steel.
Yeah.
And to me, that is one of the most amazing movies to ever come out. And I want to talk about that first. So that's what we're going to dive into. And I hope everybody watching here is ready to discuss and let us know your thoughts on these three films: Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, and the Snyder Cut, because that's what we're talking about. I'm getting back to the core of what brought us all together to begin with. And it's a love for these films and what he has done. So over the next 2 hours, we're going to discuss those three films, maybe some things we may go off topic here and there, but the main goal of this show today is all about that. But I'm going to hit the comments here real quick and go through some of the people, because I see a lot of people are in here. First and foremost, again, this is a charity event, so make sure, I have it pinned there. Go to the AFSP, the Autumn Snyder Fund, donate $1, $2, whatever you can. Every little bit helps, and this is all going to AFSP. This is so important. We've hit $500,000. We want to get to $1 million. Let's go. Let's keep pushing. With that, I'm going to throw it into comments here in a little bit. We do have a t-shirt drive also. Really awesome t-shirt. I'll pull it up in a bit here. Buy t-shirt. Who doesn't love a t-shirt? All proceeds that come from that t-shirt go straight to the Autumn Snyder Fund. So be on the lookout for that as well. But we ran through already a couple. We said hi to George. Hi to Geek Studios.
Hi, Geek Studios.
Chase,
hi,
what's
Chase.
going on? Everybody's saying UsUnited. Fear
hi,
Jason.
Fear Jason.
What's going on?
Hi, Fire.
Fire. His name's Anthony.
Oh, hi, Anthony. Fire, back to you.
Restore the Snyderverse. Absolutely. The Four Nerds show earlier today did an excellent show, and they really dove in and discussed the whole Restore the Snyderverse stuff, and it was really, really cool. Anthony, Justice League is hot garbage.
Agree.
Yeah.
I mean, it might even go as far as saying a steaming pile of shit, but
Geek Studios, Zack Snyder Justice League is a masterpiece. Yeah. DC Talk, what's up, man? What's up, everyone?
Hattie.
Until Zack Snyder Justice League BVS was my favorite. Geek Studios, I really love Man of Steel. Steel Feor is my favorite character in that movie. Zack Snyder Justice League is spectacular. So let's kind of get into this, guys. You know, Man of Steel came out back in 2013. It was the first iteration of Superman on the big screen that we were getting that was actually disconnected from the Christopher Reeve movies that started back in the 70s, because Superman Returns, that came out in 2005, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 2006, that film was actually a sequel to Superman 2. They kind of just pushed 3 and 4 out the window, said, forget you. Superman Returns kind of took place after Superman 2. And for all that it was a decent film. I enjoyed that movie probably more than a lot of other people did, but the fact that 2013, where we're getting a new Superman movie that was disconnected from that, brand new, starting fresh, I was excited. Because over the course of the 2000s, as I became a young adult, I really, really grabbed onto the Superman character a lot. I think it had to do a lot with watching Smallville, and I really started to dive in and understand and really like the character of Superman. Prior to that, I was a huge Batman fan. So during that time, I was a big Superman, becoming a big Superman fan, and I was like, man, I'd love to see a new Superman, and Superman Returns is what it was. I just said that. But then they finally announced Man of Steel. I didn't know who Zack Snyder was at the time. I watched his movies. I watched Watchmen, 300, Dawn of the Dead. I didn't watch the Owl movie at that time, or Sucker Punch. But I knew of those movies, but I didn't know of him. I knew Christopher Nolan, and I was like, well, if he's, look what he did with The Dark Knight. If he's going to produce this, it's probably going to be awesome. So that was my thoughts going into Man of Steel. Colton, tell me a little bit what your thoughts were going into it.
2013, I was still in high school. So I was like all doing high school things. Mm-hmm. And I know I watched this film one time in school, and I was like, that's kind of cool, but I had a whole bunch of kids around me, so I was like, I gotta watch this like by myself to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. And again, it was amazing movie. It blew me out of the water. Well, it blew me out of the water. Blew my expectations out of the water, because like, again, I only knew like the Superman from the 70s. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh well, that's cool. Henry Cavill looks dope as Superman. And then I was also like 7 when Smallville came out. So yeah, when the Smallville came out, like 2004, didn't it?
2001 or 2002. I know that it was affected by September 11th. There was something that affected that. So yeah, it
I was like 5, so yeah, definitely wasn't going to get into Smallville back then. But I caught it when it was on TV. I had no clue what was happening or whatever. I was just like, oh, it's a TV show. Mm-hmm. So like the only real Superman I knew was the 70s Superman. So Henry Cavill was cool. It was the coolest shit. I was like, this is dope.
Yeah. Yeah. When the movie finally came out, I didn't get a chance to go check it out immediately. Unfortunately, I mean, I don't remember what was going on in my life at the time, but for those of you who know me, you know that between like 2009 to like 2017, my life was just crazy. So, so I didn't get to enjoy going to the movies as much as I did later on. But whenever I finally, got to see the movie, I think it was like maybe 3 or 4 weeks after it came out, I went by myself. And it was actually one of the first movies, I think it may have been the second movie I ever went to the theaters by myself to watch. And when I sat down and watched that movie, I was just taken away. Even a few weeks later, the theater was packed, which was impressive in my opinion. But I was just blown away by what I was witnessing. It was something that it felt, while there were moments of it, especially the beginning with Krypton, felt so otherworldly. it was so humanized. It brought the character down to be relatable, that it was one of the first movies that I ever like legitimately like bawled my eyes out in the theater because it was such a beautiful movie. And it's one of those things. It's like, it didn't do great critically or financially. I know a lot of people sit there and say, oh, it should have been a near $1 billion movie. Look at what Marvel did up to that point, blah, blah, blah. That's people
comparing oranges to apples.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's a completely different type of movie, but everybody's like, oh, it's a Superman movie. It should have done much bigger, especially in that time frame when superhero movies were out. And I disagree, because you have to compare it to how Iron Man was. Now, the difference why you can't compare it perfectly is because at the time, Iron Man was a lesser known Marvel character. He wasn't somebody that you couldn't go to anybody on the street and say, hey, who's Iron Man? What comics is he in? Nowadays, you could do that, but back then you couldn't. Superman is one of the most famous, most notable superheroes around. But you have to remember, people were hesitant to jump in and invest their time into a new universe. And while Man of Steel came out, we were just coming off the high of the Dark Knight trilogy, which, as much as I like the third one, it was kind of a low point for that series, for that trilogy. Yeah. So I think there's a lot that you have to take into consideration on why it only made just under, whoops.
Yeah, I hit my mic stand, I'm sorry.
Why it made just under $700 million. But I don't think it's a failure. I think it's a very big success, and it launched Superman to new heights, in my opinion. No pun intended there.
I was just going to say, are you aiming for that pun? Or
Let's jump here. Superman the Animated Series. This is from Geek Studios. Was my first introduction to the character. Then Superman the movie. I have to say, I'm with you on that. Superman the Animated Series was probably my first, if not the Justice League series. I think I was a huge Batman the Animated Series fan. I think I went from Batman the Animated Series to Justice League, and then Justice League Unlimited. And then I was like, oh, there's this Superman cartoon. So I kind of went back. So I was already introduced to him in a more intimate way through those shows. But it wasn't until the mid 2000s that I was like, oh, let's check out the movie, and so on and so forth. So Andrew, what's going on, man? I got introduced to Superman through Christopher Reeve. That's pretty much everybody. A lot of people were introduced to him through him. Andy R. Man of Steel made me a big Superman fan when I never was. And that's amazing.
Yeah.
I love hearing that. I love seeing that, because to me, Man of Steel is a masterpiece. Like, when it comes to superhero movies, especially origin stories, there aren't really any that are that good. It hits every single beat. Everything you need in a movie, it hits.
You're missing out on X-Men Wolverine, like best origin movie.
Origins, yeah.
Yeah, X-Men Origins. Sorry, it's the best movie.
Oh, man, don't even want to talk about that. Let's see, George. Superman for me was the first DC movie I saw, then followed by Supergirl and Burtonverse. I was much into animation, so I never watched Batman and the Superman series. Was never much in it. Yeah, I mean,
see, the cartoons got me because I was that age. Mm. Like I don't remember the Justice League one. I don't remember the names because I was like 6. But that's how I got introduced to like DC as a whole, because Marvel never really had that in the early 2000s or anything like notable in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So I watch DC stuff all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
Teen Titans, the OG Teen Titans, not the Teen Titans Go crap that we got now, but but like that, I grew up watching stuff like that. That's what got me into comic books, really.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like I said, that first Superman movie back in '78, that was huge. That without that movie, we don't then get '89 Batman. Without '89 Batman, we then don't get Blade. So like all these superhero movies that came out now, between those films, there were poor attempts at superhero films. You had that Dolph Lundgren Punisher movie. You had a David Hasselhoff Nick Fury movie. You had.
I don't see how that couldn't have launched. No way that could have not happened.
But all of these were stepping stones to eventually getting to, Spider-Man in 2002 or 2001, whenever that was, and so on. And that's kind of what set everything off, even X-Men before that. So that Superman movie in 78 is a very important part of superhero film history. And it's great to see that so many people were introduced to that, to Superman and to the universe through that film. It's a beautiful thing, and and we're seeing it now more with Man of Steel. There's a lot of people who were introduced there, compared to the first Thor movie. I didn't think make so much money. Yeah, the first Thor movie was more of an intimate film. I'm actually a big fan of that movie. I really think that's an underrated film, but I wouldn't even compare Man of Steel to that. I think comparing it to Iron Man is fine, only because of it was launching a universe. That's the best way to do it. There are other aspects and things that you can take into consideration, but in the grand scheme of things, Marvel had already put out, I think, 6 movies to that point. Yeah. They were established. They already had a $1 billion movie. They probably grossed around $2 billion. With all their films, they were already established, and people, that's what they were looking for because they were used to that. Going to Man of Steel, it was a vastly different type of movie than what Marvel was giving us, and I think that's something you have to take into consideration. It was, in my opinion, it's what I call it was ahead of its time, and I lost where I was here.
It happens to the best of us.
There I go. George again, but I was hooked on DC and didn't really know much about Marvel. I knew what it was, but I wasn't that interested. Yeah, that's the thing. Marvel... I was a big fan of the Spider-Man animated series in the 90s. Spider-Man was actually the first comic that I read, and even though I was a big Batman fan, I was a Batman fan because Batman 89 was the first movie I ever saw in theaters. My dad was a big Batman fan, and I used to sit on his lap watching reruns of Adam West. So I was huge Batman. But Marvel, for the most part, I wasn't too... I didn't really know anything but Spider-Man. Of course, there were characters that would show up on that animated series. Iron Man showed up a couple times, Blade, Venom, a bunch of characters showed up, but still, it was never anything that I would sit there and be like, it's... Yeah. We need more of this type of thing.
I mean, even growing up reading comics, like Marvel doesn't have really any interesting arcs that happen.
Yeah.
I mean, if you take out Civil War II, and Infinity War, there's really nothing notable.
What's going on, Abdul? Is Juicy. I love the name. Brave and Bold was my first. I've actually
makes me juicy.
I've never actually got even checked out Brave and Bold, so I don't really know much about that.
I feel like I've watched a couple. Isn't that the animated show?
I believe so. Yeah, it was a Batman animated show.
I think I've watched a few episodes of it.
Andrew, I got introduced to Batman through Burton films and the animated series. That's pretty much how a lot of people got introduced to Batman too. You have to take into consideration how impactful that first Superman movie and that 89 Batman was to what we have today. And I think that's a big reason why people were a little hesitant on these new iterations, because if you think about it, Superman, that version of Superman lived in our homes for nearly 30 years, 10, 20, 30 years. Yeah, almost 30 years. That was our Superman. That's what we saw. That's what, and I get in discussions all the time with people like, Reeve was a great Superman. He was fantastic, but he doesn't fit in today's world. His story doesn't fit with today.
Mainly because he's in a wheelchair.
And that's why that's why I like Man of Steel so much, because they made Superman fit in today's world. And that's the beautiful thing about that movie, because, and again, it makes you have a chance to relate to the character. Everybody's had those feelings of just not knowing where they are in this world, not understanding who they are, not understanding, it hits with people who are orphans. It hits with people who have, issues from coming from another planet. And it's 2021. We can't expect anything else. But honestly, it's a great movie in that regard.
And that's what I like about the whole Zack Snyder's, trilogy, I guess we can call it at this point, because he makes everybody so relatable, no matter what. His Justice League cut, for example. Sometimes it's okay for the hero to kill someone. Like sometimes it's okay. Like you don't always have to spare someone.
It baffles me that it is so. It is one of those.
Sometimes it's okay for the hero to be a bad person. Sometimes it's okay.
But there's so much fighting about that scene, about Superman killing Zod there. And to me, it is one of those scenes in that movie that it's
the lesser of two demons.
Well, not just that, but you have to take it from Clark's point of view. And up to that point, like, when he's trying to find himself and he finds this ship and he gets introduced to his birth father and he's learning about who he is, he's still coming to grips with that, but he wants more. He wants to learn more. And then all of a sudden, beings from his home world are there, people who could teach him more, teach him where he comes from, help him understand better. But he has to make a choice between Earth, where he grew up, and his birth world. And it's the lessons that he was taught growing up. It was everything that he knows and stands for that makes him choose Earth. And it comes to the point where it's like, okay, you're going to let Earthlings die? You're going to let your people die? Or are you going to kill me? And that's essentially what Zod says. And he kills Zod because he knows there's no stopping him. He's not going to stop. Zod says, my sole purpose is to protect Krypton. And you've taken that from me. So now I have to kill you. And that's his whole goal. Like, he's not going to stop. And he's not going to stop until he gets what he wants. And even if he just knocks him out, that means that down the line, you might be dealing with him again.
Yeah. I mean, it's the life of one saves the lives of millions.
Andrew jumps in and talks about Jokers here. His top 3 Jokers: Jack Nicholson, Mark Hamill, and Cameron Monaghan from Gotham. And I love Cameron Monaghan's Joker iterations, even though they never technically call him Joker.
Yeah, he's not the Joker, but he is the Joker.
But I do really like that.
He's the Jackal. I will call him the Jackal.
I would love to see him get a chance to truly portray the Joker at some point on film or something. I think he would do phenomenal. But, I like, and believe it or not, this is going to be controversial to some. I am actually happy that Andrew did not say Heath Ledger.
Yeah, I'm so I get it. Heath Ledger was a good Joker, but just because he's dead doesn't mean that he needs to be in the top 3 instantly. Just because he died playing the role does not make you a top 3. Yeah, like I'd put Jared Leto above him. Honestly, I'll put it there. I'll say it. And he was my last one.
Andy R. It made me go into a Superman rabbit hole. I even watched all of Smallville. I'm thinking you're talking about Man of Steel. Absolutely. I mean, I watched again. I watched Smallville. It was on, but I actually stopped Smallville around season 7 or 8 because I same thing that happened with the CW shows. Now I just kind of got out of it. I was just kind of like, all right, it's the same thing over and over again. Yeah. After I saw Man of Steel, I was like, all right, I got to go finish Smallville now. And I went and finished the last 2 or 3 seasons that I had to finish. And that movie it makes you want more. That movie there's so much excitement in that film, and it's filled with hope. I don't see how people don't see that movie as filled with hope. And that's what I love about it. And what does the symbol of L mean? It means hope.
Yeah.
Andrew reminds us we had Captain America in 1990. No, thank you. I do not want to remember that.
Some things are okay to not remember.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's okay to not be a bad person.
Over time, Geek Studios, when I was a kid, I watched Super Friends reruns on Boomerang and Max Fleischer Superman cartoons. I never watched the Max Fleischer Superman cartoons, but I did watch Super Friends on Cartoon Network or Boomerang or whatever it was when I was a kid. My grandfather, every time I go over his house, he would have cartoons on. Like, my grandfather was a big cartoon guy, and a lot of the Hanna-Barbera stuff, which is Super Friends. And I caught Super Friends from every now and then. And to me, even as a kid of the 90s, that Super Friends show was just a little too not for me. It was just so wonky and childish and over the top with things. I wasn't a big fan of it, but hey, if it introduces people to characters, I'm all for it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how you get into it as long as you get into it.
DC Talk with Extended. What's up, man? I love 1978 movie, Man of Steel, Batman 89, the animated series, Superman, the animated series, JL series, JL Unlimited. All of it. Great. All of it.
JL series and JL Unlimited is what is the OG stuff for me.
Yeah. Well, you were probably like 5 at that time.
Yeah, it was geared towards me.
Yeah. Anthony Beltree, Christopher Reeve was a great Superman. He was for the time. He was a great Superman. I don't see him, if they were to bring Christopher Reeves, obviously he would have to be the same age, all that jazz. But today, I don't think it works. That's kind of why I like Tyler Hoechlin in Superman and Lois. I do. But he feels very much like the Christopher Reeve Superman. The story feels very much like the Christopher Reeve Superman. And to me, it doesn't feel connected to this world. And that kind of ruins it for me. I'd rather it connect to this world than not. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
And again, that's okay. Because I do like watching. I watch Superman and Lois. I enjoy it. But when it comes to what we're getting with what Snyder was making, I love how it's connected to the real world. Chase says, fire.
Fire. It's always cool to be a pyromaniac. But that's with Snyder. It just seems like his stuff's a lot more grounded. Like the CW stuff, it's just like, okay, because we could just blow up the earth and everything's fine and everybody gets about their day like nothing happens.
Yeah. Yeah, but guys, tell me in the comments. We're talking about our first iteration and what got us into comics and everything. But let me know what it was that pulled you into Man of Steel. That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to share with everybody here. I want to know what it was that caught your attention with Man of Steel. Because for me, it was the humanization.
Henry Cavill's biceps.
Look. I am straight, but he's a damn good looking guy now.
Right? I mean, the dude, I'll even reference Mission Impossible here. Dude can grow a tie and a beard like 2 seconds. Crazy.
Didn't he grow a pocket at one point?
Yeah, he grew a pocket. 2 seconds. He's that good looking. It's just amazing.
Oh, man. Andrew's talking about Spider-Man. His first introduction was 94, then Tobey Maguire. Geek Studios, Spider-Man series, X-Men Mighty series, grew up with. George, we're getting into Thundercats and D&D. Oh, man.
Hey, I would love to play D&D again.
Tom Welling explored the Clark Kent side to Superman and his journey becoming the Man of Steel Superman. Yeah, I mean, there's some aspects of Smallville that I enjoy, but there are some aspects that just kind of like, I did not like the whole no tights, no flight thing. I get why they did it, but I felt once they hit like season 7, season 8, it was kind of like, all right, come on, like let's see some of these great Superman tropes. Lois and Clark, I loved, was a good TV series, but Superman and Lois is a fantastic series. Lois and Clark, I caught bits and pieces. That was in the 90s. I think my mom actually watched it here and there because it was very much like a soap opera, not a soap opera, but it was more of a drama than anything. It was more of a love drama series with Superman than anything, but I never really watched too much of it. But I did like what's his face that played Superman. I can't think of his name right now. Somebody's going to say it in the comments, I'm sure. But
you say Lois and Clark, and I think of like those two dudes that went west in America. I was like, whoa. Then I forgot Superman.
George, going further on that earlier comment on Joker, Queen Phoenix was awesome in Smallville. Wow, I love that show. Lana Kristen Kruk was gorgeous and still is. Hasn't changed, I swear. Yeah, actually, Kristen Kruk, she's been she did a couple interviews with Michael Rosenbaum on his podcast, and she really is just as beautiful as she was back in the 2000s. She doesn't look like she really aged a bit, and she was a really good Lana. I wasn't a fan of where they took her character at times, but she was a really good Lana. But Erica Durance, who played Lois Lane in Smallville, she is probably my favorite iteration of Lois Lane, followed closely by Amy Adams.
Would you give her a full showing?
A showing? Showing?
I mean, we're talking about the 90s. It's only fair. It's only fitting. Because it's bridging the Geekdom. That doesn't fit.
No, it doesn't work. Krypton opening scene got me into Man of Steel. That's interesting.
Oh, yeah.
That's interesting because a lot of people blow that off. A lot of people say, "Oh, that was boring," or "We didn't need all of that." To me, I'm like, that is an amazing moment.
Between that moment and Kurt Russell's beautiful head of hair, I mean, how do you not get into the movie? And I'm not being
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe. Sorry. but even then, I'm not even being sarcastic. Like, that man looked great for being like 75, and the whole scene was dope as hell because it gives context to the rest of the movie.
It really is. I love how they explored Krypton a little bit more. Look, even in 1978, Superman had some time on Krypton in the beginning, but it just felt weird. It felt very human to me still. This kind of, made it very otherworldly, like I said earlier, and that's what I love about it. So I love hearing people say that that's what caught their attention. In Man of Steel, this is Andrew. In Man of Steel, I like that Snyder made Superman more relatable in real world and show his place in the world and decide whatever to be Earth's protector. Cavill showed Superman is a symbol. Exactly. Yeah. The way they humanized Superman was done unlike any other iteration. Again, Smallville's different. I'm talking about big screen. They never really humanized him properly until Man of Steel. And that's the thing. How do you humanize an alien being that has godlike powers? And that's been something that's been asked so many times.
You kick him in the shin twice.
But you focus on his human side, on him growing up in a small town of Kansas, and you focus on that aspect, and then build on him discovering who he is. 1978 Superman didn't do that. It was just like, oh, hey, you're a being from another world. He goes for a journey to the Arctic, throws a crystal, and then he has the Fortress of Solitude. There's a lot more development in him discovering who he is and everything. And even with flashbacks in the old Superman movies, it's like he's discovering his powers, but he's just like, oh, okay, cool, I got powers now. Man of Steel, that moment in the school, whenever he starts getting his X-ray vision and he's starting to lose and hearing everything, and they actually have to call his mother in, and she's like, he's like, I hear everything. I see, the world's too big, Mom. And she's like, well, make it small. It's such an amazing, heartwarming moment between a mother and a son. It's absolutely beautiful.
What else do you say in that situation? You have to just make it. I mean, I don't know how else to say. Like, it sounds like I'm being an asshole. I'm really not. But how else do you tell a kid, like, you have superpowers? They can't relate.
Dean Cain. That's who it was in Superman and Lois. Thank you, geeks.
But no, you can't teach a kid, like, hey, just, you got superpowers. It is what it is. You have to treat them like they're a human. And that's what you would tell a kid. You can't just be like, oh, well, don't look up skirts and stuff like that because you're going to be a teen in a couple years. Like,
yeah. Abdul, how do you feel about Young Justice and it targeting older audience in the latest season? I actually did not watch the latest season. Obviously the first two seasons that came out, I watched, loved them. I was out there promoting, let's get another season. I think I watched the first two episodes, and
I didn't even know there was a new season.
It felt so disconnected from the earlier seasons, that it kind of turned me off a little bit. But I've had friends tell me, I have to dive back into it. But I have 6 kids. I have this kid over here that I mess with from time to time.
That's because I'm 10 years younger than you. Doesn't make me a kid.
But I will get around to it sometime, hopefully soon. Maybe this summer. I had all the time last summer. I should have done it then, but I didn't get around to it at all.
That was me saying I'm going to watch Game of Thrones, and then I don't watch Game of Thrones.
And, getting back to this real quick before I move to the next comment, targeting an older audience in the latest season, that's fine. I don't mind that. I think, in a way, that show, when it came out, we were younger. And then that same audience got older, and they released the next season. So they're sticking with their target audience. I think that's fine. Obviously, I was a DC fan. This is from George. When Man of Steel came out, and there was never any chance of me not watching it. I was already a Snyder fan, so I was very interested to see his take on Superman. Simple enough.
Yeah. I was hoping for a horror film, I'm not going to lie.
So this one here from Paul Bowler. I think it'd be cool if they continued the Snyderverse and comic book series using the plot Snyder had in mind for the next Justice League films. I said that a couple years ago, back when this whole release the Snyder Cut movement was really going on social media. I would often type release the Snyder Cut, or at least release it in comic book form, get Jim Lee, blah, blah, blah. And I would go on. And I think I even said it in a few of our shows and podcasts back in the day. So I've always been for that, but I'm going to tell you, to be honest, Paul, if we get a chance to see it in live action, give it to me in live action. If there's no chance in live action, no chance at all, then I will absolutely be okay with comic book form.
I would love to see little characters like, I don't know, this isn't a little character, but like Lex Luthor get his own like comic spinoff that ties into the movie at some point in time.
Yeah,
or
definitely.
Like Mira gets a comic because, you know, Amber Heard, she who cannot be named, get how she became relevant in the nightmare scene, or like Joker, like we're probably never going to see the Joker again, or at least Jared Leto's Joker. You know, give him a comic. You know, just give little side characters. If you're going to build the DCEU or Snyderverse or, you know, whatever you want to call it, might as well just tie in some comics. Star Wars is doing it right now.
Yeah, definitely. And to my joy, it was way better than I expected. This is George talking about Man of Steel. I have 3 different copies of film on Blu-ray. I just love that film. I get so mad people talking or complaining about Zod killing scene. Geek Studios, BVS, I geeked on when we saw the Trinity for the first time on screen. Gal was wonderful, or is Wonder Woman, or is wonderful, whatever. It's perfect. I can't imagine no one to play the character. So this is a nice, I guess, segue here. Let's kind of transition to Batman vs Superman. We kind of gushed all over Man of Steel here and its beauty. One last thing of Man of Steel, and I know a lot of people mention this all the time, and there's detractors out there who say that this isn't an important aspect of the film, but I do love the Christian undertones and even overtones in times. Right on the nose, symbolism and such in Man of Steel. I grew up a Christian. I really, really enjoy the way that they utilized Superman and kind of making him like a Christ-like symbol, and doing so really helped push the narrative of Batman vs Superman. And that's what I really like about it, because in Man of Steel, as you see these moments and you see these Jesus Christ sort of moments, when you then watch Batman vs Superman, even just a general audience, already in the back of your mind, you have this idea and thought of him being like a Christ-like figure, a god. So the fact that Batman vs Superman kind of then takes that from your brain, just being a general audience member, and saying, okay, we're going to put it in here. So you're thinking it, now we're doing it. I really liked that. I really did.
Yeah, it was cool to watch. I'm not really super into religion, if you couldn't tell from watching the show for 4 years. Especially the earlier stuff. The earlier stuff was bad. But the symbolism is cool because, again, you are watching an otherworldly being on Earth. Of course, we would like see him as a god, or, you know, a savior, or whatever you want to, say he is. But it would just make sense because everybody would probably, people were weird. He probably had a cult somewhere on Earth that would perceive him like that.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see here.
Martha.
Sorry, I'm just checking to see. I invited some people to the show. I just want to see if anybody got back to me at all.
It's okay. I'll read this one. George said, Superman is everything in that film. If you knew nothing about the films and walked out of the jungle and watched that movie, you would believe Superman is real. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, did you ever see that video? I should see if I can find it, of that little kid watching the flight scene from Man of Steel. Must be like a 3-year-old kid. And he's watching it. He's sitting on his dad's lap, watching on a computer, and he's just getting so amped and excited about that scene. I love it because that movie truly made you believe a man could fly. Like that's what George is saying here. You walk out of that movie believing that Superman is real because it makes you believe that he is real.
Yeah, and it's crazy what Zack Snyder can do with film. How long was the movie? Like 2 hours, 2.5 hours, something like that.
Yeah, about 2.5 hours.
For 2.5 hours, and he created a cult classic, basically.
Geek Studios goes, what about animation for Justice League film Snyderverse? I think it could be amazing. Again, we do know that Jay Oliva, he's a big supporter of everything Zack has done. He's directed a massive amount of DC animated films. I think he would be all for it. And if I'm not mistaken, he was supposedly working with Zack on an animated project, not DC related already. So it could be a match made in heaven. But again, in my opinion, if we can restore the Snyderverse in live action, that's the way I want to go. at the very least, comics. The next step, if we can't get live action, would be animation. At the very least, comics.
Yeah. I think at this point, it's not an if, it's a when. We're going to get 2 and 3.
George, talking about the fight with Zod and saying his favorite moment is there, and when they hit the sign 160 days, and then the 16 falls off to 0 days. Again, that's the thing. People sit there and talk.
I forgot about that scene.
Well, people sit there and talk about how there's no humor in Snyder's films, but that little thing there is actually humor. Like that's a humorous part in a very serious scene. But yeah, let's go. Let's kind of jump to Batman vs Superman here, and
high DC talk with extended.
So, Batman vs Superman comes out. It's been 5 years now. 2 days ago was the 5-year anniversary. So 2016, March 25th, 2016. I remember the build up to that movie because the build up was huge. The marketing was pushing Batman vs Superman, Batman vs Superman, Batman vs, like, you were like, holy crap, yeah. Batman and Superman are going to fight. Why? Even my mom was like, why are they fighting? They're friends. They're super friends. Why are they fighting?
One's a super friend. The other one's just a friend.
So, we were building up to this movie and it was huge. Obviously, Marvel had their slate where Captain America Civil War was coming out just about a month and a half later. So, there was a lot of hype around these whole verse movie things right at that point. Mm-hmm. And I remember watching trailers for this. First off, when they cast Batman, I was in my kitchen fighting with people about politics or something on Facebook. I don't know. I was fighting about something stupid.
That sounds like I open up Facebook and you're just out there picking a fight. And I'm like, that's my boy.
But I was doing something and I got a little notification that Batman had been cast. And I was like, forget this. Batman cast who? Ben Affleck. I was like, what? I immediately was like, that is brilliant casting. Absolutely brilliant casting. I loved it. And there was a lot of people who were worried about it. Then they announced Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I think they did that at Comic-Con, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember when they announced that. Lex Luthor being Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah,
so there was a lot
Mark Zuckerberg.
So when they started announcing the cast, it got me more excited. I know prior to the cast being announced, there were a lot of names flying around. John Hamm or the guy who played Thanos. I can't remember his name, but whatever his name was. Josh Brolin was rumored to be Batman.
Robert Slavinsky was rumored to be Batman.
Yeah, okay. It'd be a fat Batman.
I believe in you. I believe in you. You get that Hollywood diet, you'd lose like 200 pounds in like 3 days.
Please. then there was people like Bryan Cranston rumored to be Lex Luthor, and there was a lot of rumors going on it. And I think that hurt the movie a little bit because there was so much expectation and fan theories and fan castings that when Jesse Eisenberg was cast, they're like, oh, come on, Jesse Eisenberg, what the heck? That doesn't make sense.
They're like,
I think that hurt it a little bit.
Zuckerberg, damn it.
But the movie, the promoting, and I've said this very often, I felt that the marketing for the movie was done poorly. I felt that they focused too much on the Batman v Superman aspect of it. I think it should not have been the focus of that movie for the marketing aspect of it. I don't think that's what they should have been focusing on. I think they should have been focusing on the world versus Superman, essentially, is in the marketing. Because I think if they would have done that, I think it would have been received better. I also think it should have been named differently. But that's the past. Mm-hmm. So when I go to see the movie, I go with a couple of my friends, and I already heard about some of the things that happened in the film, but because of early screenings from the press that they do. So, people were spoiling, oh, this review says this review says this. I already figured that when Wonder Woman showed up, and finally, I actually looked over to my buddy Jordan. I was like, hey, man, I guarantee people clap whenever Wonder Woman shows up. He's like, they better not. I hate when people clap in movies. I was like, dude, it's going to happen. And it happened.
I mean, it's Wonder Woman.
Yeah. But, watching that movie, I was totally ready. I was sitting there, invested, eyes were on the screen, watching it. And I look over to my buddy, and my buddy's like this. Falling asleep. I'm like, why is he falling asleep? Like 10 minutes later, I'm sitting there. I'm like, how much time do we have left? Like, I was literally not into that movie. I just wasn't. My friends weren't. I wasn't. not until they started fighting Doomsday did I really get into it. Even the fight between Batman and Superman lasted all of 8 minutes, and I didn't realize the importance of it. And prior to the movie coming out, they did announce that they were going to have an extended R-rated edition that was going to come out on video.
And that version was significantly better.
Yes. But walking out of the theaters, I just was like, so what were how did you feel seeing Batman? I don't know. Did you go to the theater and see it?
I didn't see it in theaters. I'm not going to lie to you. I was like, what? This isn't Batman versus Superman at all until like the last, half hour of the movie? If that.
Yeah.
I was like, I wouldn't have called it BVS, but sure. Okay. I still think that the Wonder Woman spoiler, I still call it a spoiler, shouldn't have been said at all. Like, they shouldn't have done anything and just let her appear in the movie. Because if you think about all the scenes she's in, like, who the hell is that? Who is she? Like, what is she doing? Why does she care? Like,
yeah.
She's just some woman. Like, and then at the end, you make Wonder Woman appear. That would have got a huge pop. Again,
the marketing for DC films has always been pretty bad. That's nothing new with them. They're always just, it's questionable. Why do they do what they do when they do the marketing? I don't get. But I agree. Even Doomsday, they revealed Doomsday was in this movie in a trailer that came out like 3 months before the movie came out, and I was just like, I was excited when I saw the trailer, but then I'm like, why did you show that?
Now you know the big bad.
Yeah, like it's Batman versus Superman. Oh, but now we know they're going to team up and fight Doomsday.
Now you know it's a 2-on-1 handicap TLC match with Doomsday.
Yeah, I mean, marketing wasn't great for that movie, but overall, the movie had a very interesting take on Superman and the world of Superman. And that's what I love. Like I said, the connection to Man of Steel was fantastic. And I unfortunately didn't start to realize it until I started, perusing the internet, hearing what other people were saying about the movie. So when it came out on video, I bought the Ultimate Edition. At the time I worked until 11 p.m. at work. So I was like, all right, I'm at work. I'll buy it. And by the time I get home, because I worked like 45 minutes away, by the time I got home, it'd be midnight and would drop and I would watch it. And I did. Like, it came out and I watched it that night, watched all 3 hours. And I was like, this is not what I remember. I was like, this is not the movie I remember watching whenever I went to the theater. And it was much better. And I started to invest time into starting to peel back the layers that movie brings you, and all of the poetic connections to Man of Steel and the symbolism and everything. And it's such an amazing movie. As Comic Book Craig movies, he goes, I'm not much one for seeing the symbolism in any films, but I can see it everywhere in the Snyderverse. And that is a good thing.
It is super prevalent in BVS. Like, it basically grabs a Bible and smacks you in the face with it.
Yeah, basically. But there's a reason for that. People sit there and say, oh, it's shoved in your face, so how are you going to miss it? But that's the point. That's the point of these movies, is it's supposed to be shoved in your face because you're supposed to have an emotional connection like you do. Being a Christian, seeing the parallels and not the parallels, but the connections to how he's like a Jesus Christ figure. It's going to give you a different emotional feel to the movie and to the films. And that's what I really like about them. I mean, that's a big part of why I latched on to the Snyderverse of films. Everybody else, tell me in the comments why. So Man of Steel, we heard your thoughts on Man of Steel, but what was it that made you grasp on to Batman versus Superman? And I think, Colton, for you, I mean, not to be fooling myself, but I think it's kind of my doing that got you more into Batman versus Superman.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Well, at that point, I mean, Marvel was so prevalent, you couldn't turn anywhere without seeing Marvel somewhere, because that's, what it was like 2014, 2015, 2016, something around there.
What, when it came out?
Yeah.
2016.
2016.
We started podcasting in 2017.
But at that point, Marvel was full swing. You couldn't like turn your head without something Marvel in your face. And at that point, it was cool to be a nerd. Like, we were nerds before it was cool, or geeks before it was cool. Like, my first movie I ever owned, I was 3. My mom bought me Star Wars Episode 1 on VHS. Like, I was cool back into 1999. But like now I watched Man of Steel when it came out, and I watched it again by myself like later on down the road. But yeah, BVS was one of the first movies we watched.
Definitely.
Tear to my eye. Tear to my eye.
Okay, guys. I do want to, before we get more into comments here, again, I do want to remind you, go to this. It's pinned at the top of the comments. Go to AFSP. Donate anything you can to the Autumn Snyder Fund. All the benefits go to the AFSP. That's what this is about, guys. We're raising money for American Foundation of Suicide Prevention because it's such an important thing, and it hits very close to home for Zack Snyder and everything that he and his family went through back in 2017. So please, definitely, if you can, $1, $2, whatever it is you can afford, go for it. I should pull this up here. I'm going to throw this in. Let me go here. I'm going to.
And remember, it's okay to not be okay. Reach out to people. I wasn't joking. Like, suicide's real, depression's real. If you need help, talk to people.
Very much. You're not alone. You're not alone.
Like, that's a definitive end to a point that's not permanent.
We also have a UsUnited event shirt. We've actually sold 3 shirts, which is fantastic. I love that we've sold 3. I have yet to buy mine. I have to jump on.
Yeah,
and buy mine
I got to buy mine too.
Yeah,
that looks dope as hell.
I'm the one that actually threw this together, and I have yet to buy it. So,
yeah,
but it is a really sleek shirt. I really do like. I think it really pops on the gray and everything. It's really cool. So make sure you jump over there. I will throw the link in the comments right now for all of you to get, and maybe if it sends, there we go. So yeah, so check out that. Oops, what am I doing here? Too many tabs.
So you know what thought just crossed my mind with all the BVS talk?
What's that?
If you think Superman and Batman like versus each other, like fight, BVS, obviously. If you take it on a metaphysical level, it's Jesus versus Judas.
Yeah, in a way, you're not wrong.
And that's why in the Zack Snyder cut that Batman is trying to redeem himself because he sees that he's done ultimate sin, killed Jesus.
I'm going to kind of go back through comments here. Paul, wish we got a solo Batman, Affleck Batman film. Thought he was great as the Dark Knight. I'm still holding out hope, man. I still am. I'm friends with the guys over at the Culture Nerd. I talk to them all the time. And they've heard some things.
You're a cultured nerd.
They've heard some things, and it really makes me believe. I trust what they say, and I believe, they've heard what they say they've heard, and I have faith. I do. I'm not saying that it's 100% definite, but I say we have a better chance today than we did 6 months ago. We have a better chance today than we did even 2 days ago. So keep that in mind. Hold out your hope. It's coming, I think.
Remember, tweet, what is it? Restore the Snyderverse. Keep it going.
And if you're not, jump over. You guys should be watching, or at least on another screen, have Zack Snyder's Justice League playing on HBO Max right now, because we're trying to prove to Warner Brothers, Warner Media, HBO Max that we want this. We want this. It's playing downstairs in my living room right now. I think my son's down there watching it. It's playing down there. That's what we need to be doing. I'm watching it again later tonight. It'll be my 7th. Well, I've watched it 6.5 times.
Did you watch the grayscale one yet?
I haven't. I'm going to actually save that probably for a couple weeks from now, a weekend where I can just sit down by myself and watch it again, because I want to see the difference. Now, I'm not a big black and white fan. I'm not a big fan of movies like that, but I do want to give this one a shot for sure. Let's see here. Where are we at here? Ben is Geek Studios. Ben is phenomenal as Batman. I met Ben once. He's a cool guy. That's actually really cool. I'd love to meet Affleck. I would love to meet him one time.
I thought we were talking about Ben Kenobi. My bad.
He does seem like he'd be a really cool guy to have I can't say have a beer with, because he's an alcoholic and he doesn't drink anymore. Sorry, but
you can have no rules. It's non-alcoholic.
He seems like he'd be a cool guy. He just kind of the thing I've always taken with Affleck is he just kind of seems like he's not a big fan of the limelight of the celebrity status. He likes doing what he does, but sometimes I feel like he wants to back off a bit. But that's fine.
I feel like he's literally every meme that people have made of him. Like the one of him outside smoking. Yeah, same. Him putting stuff in his house. Same. He's a relatable person.
They can restore the Snyderverse in TV show or film. I'm down for animated or graphic novel. Absolutely.
I don't think it's an if. I think it's a when now. I think it's just a matter of how much uproar we can cause.
Wow. So comic book Craig movies. I was in Malaysia for holidays in the beginning of March 2016, and all the way back home, I was thinking to myself, please don't let the plane crash. I have to see BVS.
I'm sorry, that's not funny, but that is funny.
Wasn't Riddler supposed to be in BVS? Ask Geek Studios. There were a lot of rumors of different things and different characters that were supposed to be in BVS. I think there was even at a time they were talking about the Penguin, the Riddler I did hear, Two-Face I heard. There was a lot of rumors of who was going to be in that movie.
Jay and Silent Bob.
There were early scripts and early ideas that were out there. You know, they discuss ideas and everything. And I'm not saying that it was never a possibility. I think it could have been a possibility. But let's not forget that Zack's original idea was not to have Doomsday, but it was actually to have Metallo in the film. But that script allegedly got leaked to Marvel Studios, to which they then responded with Captain America Civil War and forward. That is what the rumor is in the nerd world. Whether it's true or not, I'm not 100% sure, but it is very interesting if that is the case, because I mean, you know, yeah, it's a big oof, big oof. But there were a lot of people rumored for BVS. George, BVS, OMFG, that film, immense, just immense. The Ultimate Edition version is definitely the one to watch. The theatrical was good, but when the Ultimate Edition came out, I was mad that they didn't put that in cinemas first. Exactly.
Yeah.
If anything, Warner Brothers needs to understand Zack Snyder. You know, take a look at Watchmen. Take a look at what he does with films. He loves to tell long stories, big, long stories.
I just don't understand. We released 3 Lord of the Rings movies that are like 5 hours long a piece. What's a 4-hour movie? I get money-wise, like, yeah, 2 hour and a half, 2 hours.
Well,
we can just keep rotating theaters, but
Lord of the Rings, the theatrical version of Lord of the Rings were your typical theatrical length films. And that's where it comes. It comes into play with theatrical releases. Theatrical release, they want to get as many viewings as they can in a day to maximize on their profit, because theatrical runs at the time were only like 90 days. You know, so a movie is going to stay in theaters guaranteed for 90 days. They need to get as many showings in that as they possibly can. And that's kind of a big reason why they want a shorter time. And a lot of studios, they want a 2 hour or less time. You know, when it starts to go over 2 hours, then it's like 2.5. That's it. You go over 2.5, you got to cut it down. So that's a big reason why. But the current state of entertainment in the film industry is changing right now. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do this now, because we now see, for instance, Warner Brothers, who we're just speaking of, made a deal with, I believe, Cinemark. Their deal now is that Cinemark will be able to play Warner Brothers films for 45 days before Warner Brothers puts them on HBO Max. That starts in 2022. So all this 2021 slate is still day and date HBO Max theaters. But starting in 2022, all Warner Brothers films will be in theaters for 45 days before Warner Brothers can even consider putting them on HBO Max. So now they only have a 45-day run. Are they going to want to try and even maximize even more? Are we going to see more cut in times? Are we going to see them be more strict on being a 2-hour movie as opposed to letting the director let their film breathe? It's going to be interesting to see what happens here.
I think we're going to turn to, everything's going to be more towards streaming. So we're going to see no more ultimate editions or cuts like that, or director cuts. We're just going to see 4-hour movies just pop on Netflix or HBO.
Yeah.
And it's going to be what it's going to be, and that's going to be it.
Yeah, definitely.
Because theaters are going to be an afterthought, because Regal theaters have closed all US and UK theaters. AMC's like on life support at this point. Cinemark's the only one that's still really around, that's relevant and kind of okay after COVID.
Yeah. Comic Book Craig, anyone who says BVS doesn't have humor is only waiting for one-liners. When Bats is punching Superman and the gas wears off, it was hilarious. Again, there's a different type of feel to these movies. People, when they talk about wanting humor, they want that moment. Thor Ragnarok, that moment in Avengers when Tony's sitting there talking. He goes, "Oh, I see you playing Galaga over there. We don't see you doing it," or whatever he says to the guy, you know, to the pilot or whatever he was. You know, it's stuff like that. That's what they're looking for. The general audience likes being spoon-fed everything. You know, like that's the way it is. That's why films eventually become cult classics, because they become these films that people love to sit there and discuss. Like, in my opinion, Batman vs Superman has become a cult classic because it's been discussed for 5 straight years. 5 straight years it's been discussed. And to me, that's what a cult classic is a movie that it finds its footing after it makes its theatrical run. It's not the general audience who loves it. There is a diehard fan base who will sit there and discuss it all the time. And that's why movies like that, the ones that don't spoon feed you everything, become cult classics usually. And that's my opinion. I don't know what your thoughts are, but George, I agree with everyone. The Wonder Woman arrival was a great way to show the Trinity. I love that moment. You know, I've probably watched and rewatched and watched and rewatched from the moment Wonder Woman shows up to the end of the movie. I've probably watched that the most for Batman vs Superman. That whole scene, just from that
cello that's playing.
yes. Oh man, the first time I heard Wonder Woman's theme, dude, you can't help but get pumped up. You just can't help but like, yeah, let's go.
You're like, Judy, and you're like playing the cello by yourself. That's pretty.
Well, I mean, at the time I thought it was electric guitar, so I'm like, but
and you realize it's like, and you're like, oh.
Who cares? It's still cool. But played great by the great Tina Gao or Guo or Guo, or I can't.
Gal Gadot actually played it. Crazy.
But yeah, absolutely fantastic. I love that. And you know, I've mentioned this to some people, and you have to be careful what you say on social media all the time, because you can sit there and say, you know, oh, this fight with Superman, Doomsday, Wonder Woman, and Batman is one of the best superhero fight scenes ever. And then you have these people coming back, oh, Thanos' fight was better in Infinity War. It's like, really? You think?
Yeah, like 12 of them in there. So which one?
They're like, oh, he throws a moon, but does nothing. He doesn't even throw a whole moon. He throws pieces of a moon at Iron Man, and Iron Man's perfectly fine. You know, there was no real ramifications except for when he finally got to do the snap.
Yeah.
Besides that, what does Thanos do that's impressive in his fighting against everybody? When you look at this Doomsday fight, like, he kills Superman. Like,
yeah,
there's some big ramifications there.
He literally activates some other boxes. Spoiler alert. Sorry,
George. Yeah, you're right. I heard the same thing, that Zack wanted just the Dawn of Justice, but they wanted to add Batman and Superman into the title because money. They believe that those names alone would make them money, and
it's straight up the movie.
In a way, they're not wrong. You know, I can't fight them on that. I'm somebody who thinks that it should have just been Dawn of Justice, but yeah, I mean, you're right. It was a big part of that. Geek Studios warehouse scene is so dope. The single best Batman fight scene in film history was the warehouse scene. Just to see what this Batman could do in live action was pretty phenomenal.
I mean, the Zack Snyder's Justice League was dope as hell.
Well,
I do have one complaint with it after watching it for a second time. Even though I know we're not there yet, but when we get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. Don't worry. I'm going to take a second here, guys. I don't know. Maybe you've been watching the other shows. If not, I'm going to play this video, this fan video that's going around. What I want you guys to do is check it out. Watch this video. If you haven't yet, we asked fans around the world to just thank Zack and tell Zack how much Zack Snyder's Justice League means to them. So I'm going to play this video here. If you've seen it already, more power to you. Go jump and get a drink. I'm actually going to go do a quick refill of my drink myself here, so I'll be right back. But I'm going to play this video for you.
I'll be here.
Turn the comment off here. Where is it at? There we go. All right, so here it is.
Dash from Kolkata, and I am a long-term DC fan and now Snyder fan also. From the very start of Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition release, and then slowly coming together to form a group, to form a community, and then finally having our own fight, and lastly to see the Zack Snyder Justice League in its full glory. I want to just say that I'm happiest person in the world, just because Zack Snyder and Deborah Snyder and all their family members got a closure, at least in some form, and they could do this.
Hello Zack and fellows, here is Ulysses from Hong Kong. Thank you for what you have been done for the AFSP, and thank you for the big epic movies you have made. This means to everyone. Hope faith, love is always an important part of the life equation, especially for the hard time with this global pandemic. I suffered from anxiety before. The success of this movement double confirmed that hope is always here, even it is in the narrow corridors. Thanks.
Hey guys, greetings from India. Yeah, I've been a fan of Zack ever since I watched 300 for the first time. I simply fell in love with his work. Man of Steel is my most favorite movie of all time. I watch it when I'm happy, I watch it when I'm sad. In the past, whenever I was in a tough situation in my life, that movie filled me with positivity, with hope that there will always be a better tomorrow, and it made me realize that I need to work for it. And I just want to say thank you, Zack, thank you, Debbie, thank you to everyone involved in making Zack Snyder Justice League a reality, because you have worked tirelessly for months, and you deserve to be appreciated for that. That's why on behalf of all the fans, I say thank you, we love you.
Hey, Zack.
Yeah, I'm going to stop it there right now. We'll play more of it in a little bit. I'm sorry, it looks like the
buffering is real. Right
buffering's really bad. I apologize for that.
It's okay. It's still the point, though.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't checked it out, I'm going to play the rest of the video here towards the end of our show. I wanted to do about half of it here and half of it later. But definitely, that's what this is all about, Us United. It's about us fans just celebrating Zack Snyder and what he's done and what he's brought to everything and to everybody. It's beautiful. It's amazing. We love it so much. Yeah, I mean, we're going to jump over now. I don't know if you have much to say on BVS. I know that we didn't dive into that so much. We talked about Man of Steel a whole bunch, but
we talked about it for like a solid 45 minutes.
Yeah, definitely.
There's not much to talk about the theatrical release. It's the Ultimate Edition that's dope. And even then, like, nothing really happens until like the end of the movie.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
So
yeah,
fight scene's cool. Martha.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick. Let's talk about the Martha scene, because so many people, that's like a big part of it's a big part of like the memes, controversy behind Batman vs Superman. And they're like, oh, they stopped fighting because they had the same name, their mothers had the same name, and then they're like, oh, Batman would have known that. And that's the thing. What people don't understand is the anger, the hate had overcome Bruce so much that he wasn't himself. He wasn't being the detective, the Batman, the man that he was capable of being. And that was kind of what really, 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 really hurt him, being able to see who Clark was. And the fact that when he finally realizes, because it's not that it's simply his mother's name that he's saying. It's that he's saying Clark's. It's not because it's not Clark saying his mother's name. It's that he does have his mother has the same name as his mom, but the way he was saying it at that moment, because the last thing he remembers his dad ever saying was in his dying breath, Martha. And at that moment, that was essentially Superman's dying breath, and he's about to kill him. He's about to kill Superman. And he goes, Martha, and he's like, and it just takes him back, and it pulls him and catches him off guard. And he's like, why would you say that name? And the fact that Lois comes running in, and it's Lois who says that's his mother's name. And then he realizes, I've become the very thing I swore to destroy.
Yeah, it's also the humanization of Superman in Batman's eyes.
Exactly. Look, Geek Studios went and got some coffee. Good, my man.
I should have got up and got a beer, but I didn't. So.
We all need some sustenance sometimes. It's all right. Of some sort. Chase, Us United, restore the Snyderverse. 100%, buddy. DC, I want the shirt. I can't get it right now. I think it's up, if I'm not mistaken. Let me take a quick gander here. Another 14 days, it looks like. Around 14 days. 13, 14 days. So it's got 2 weeks that it's up there. Hopefully you're able to get it. Definitely reach out to me if you can't. Maybe I'll run the fundraiser again after this. We'll see. If enough people want it. George, what Colton said earlier about Lord of the Rings, I agree 100%. But there have been many over the years, including freaking Ben-Hur hundreds of years ago.
Oh
Yes,
my
about the
God,
length of the movies. Yes.
Ben-Hur was forever. Some may say it's still being filmed to this day.
I think it is. I think they're still filming it and releasing.
Every year they just release another 2.5 hours. It's insane.
What's going on, everybody? If you're just joining us, make sure you head
Hi.
over to the Autumn Snyder Fund AFSP drive, where we can. It's pinned at the top of the comments here. Donate $1, $2, whatever you can to help the Autumn Snyder Fund and help American Foundation of Suicide Prevention.
If you're in America, we just got a $1,400 stimulus check. Yeah, good cause.
Hey,
Good
there
cause.
you go. Very good cause. You're not wrong on that, buddy. So make sure you do that. That's what this is all about. Us United, because, showing why we're united, why we love what Zack Snyder has created, and why we want it to continue. So, let's jump to Zack Snyder's Justice League here. And I have yet to really dissect the movie. Yes, I've watched it, 6.5 times, but it's not been me dissecting it to the point how I've dissected Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman. It's more along the lines of, what did I miss the first time around? What did I miss the second time? What did I miss the third time? And I think I've caught a lot of the little things, but everybody down below, let us know your thoughts down below. Everybody watching, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Like, what were your initial reactions to Snyder's Justice League? Because we're not even going to talk about Justice League. Here's the thing: this is about positivity. I want this entire stream to be about positivity. I don't want to talk about the bad. Let's talk about the good.
Can I talk about my one complaint?
What's that?
And it does involve the Justice League. The Batman scene from the beginning of Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
I wish it was in Zack Snyder's cut. That's the only thing I wish was in it.
It's not a terrible scene. There's parts of that scene that I don't like. First off, he leaves the robber there. He talks to Alfred right in front of him, calling him Alfred right in front of the bad guy. So there's and the whole fear thing I didn't like. So a version of that scene, a Snyder version of that scene, I'm all for. That Justice version, no, not so much.
Because it just seemed like the only scene out of the Justice League that didn't really fit, because it actually seemed legit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my only complaint with it. I would have liked to seen some variation of that in Zack Snyder's cut, but it is what it is. The whole rest of the movie's cool as hell. So
yeah. But again, here's the shirt. Also on there, if you can't afford that, we did put something a little bit cheaper up there. We put the Us United, a little face mask. Face masks are kind of a big thing right now, so I kind of just did that. It's a little bit cheaper for those people who are unable to afford the shirt right now but want to show their support. I threw that up there. If you do want to use your stimmy, you can always go with the Us United hoodie here for $40. But yeah, that's that. The shirt definitely is the best looking thing, though, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. The hoodie looks pretty good too.
It's the gray. The gray just works really, really well with all that. I am going to ask, I know this isn't about us, but if this is the first time checking out our channel, I thank you so much for joining us and this event here. It's great. We got about another 45 minutes to go. I'm hoping that I can get 1 or 2 people on the show here beforehand. Next show.
Your support means the world.
Yeah. Let me see here. Give me 1 second.
We're old heads when it compared to most other podcasts.
Yeah.
We got a whole bunch of famous people now just creating new podcasts. We've been doing this shit for 4 years? Solidly, probably at least 3, 3.5.
Yeah, basically. But
we do it for the fun.
We do. We love doing it. But, if this is your first time checking us out, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, hit like, follow, notification bell, all that jazz, because, we do have some fun with it. Our live shows are every Thursday from at 7 p.m. Eastern time. It's just me and this guy here. Over there, not over there, over here.
I'm assuming I'm a guy.
But
I'm just an anamorphic sponge.
But we talk about everything in pop culture. So, but we are going to get to the whole Zack Snyder's Justice League here in a second. The next show, which starts in about 45 minutes from now, a little more than 45 minutes, is Lightcast with Josh, the new host over there. Josh at Lightcast will be the next show in this event. So make sure you queue up their channel if you haven't yet. I'll share the link to their channel here shortly, but make sure you check them out. They are 6 p.m. Eastern is when they go live. It looks like the comments have kind of slowed down, so let's just kind of start talking Zack Snyder Justice League then. Maybe people will start commenting then. Maybe they're off getting coffee. It is dinner time, so.
Beer, prime
Oh,
rib.
wait. Before we do that, this is perfect timing. Perfect timing, because I'm going to bring in Mr. Marcus. How's it going, man? How's it going? It's been a while.
Yeah, it has, huh?
So Marcus, for those of you who are watching who don't know, he is an editor, I believe, over at The Culture Nerd.
Yep.
He does an amazing job over there. Everybody over there does a great job. So he's been on the show a few times here and there. We've talked a lot about his stuff. He was actually I think he was the first person I had on my show that I was able to talk about the Snyder Cut with, because he wrote an article in April or March of last year. I think it was March of last year, that said the Snyder Cut was happening, and nobody believed him. Nobody believed anything. And I got him on the show last summer, and we talked about it, and it was exciting. It's a lot of exciting stuff, has happened since then. And it's great that I got to know you and everybody that I've gotten to know, part of the Culture Nerd and everywhere else. So thank you for all that. But we just kind of got done talking about Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman. If you want to quickly go over maybe why did you gravitate towards the Snyderverse of films, Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman? What got you to liking them, and what held you in?
Well, okay. I'll be honest with you. When I started with Man of Steel way back in 2013, I was kind of like on the side of like, dang, this movie doesn't feel like the normal superhero movie. And I was like, I remember, because I was really young then, so like I didn't really know much about. I wasn't really like deep into movies and stuff like that. But watching it now, I realized like so much more depth in it, and I think people need to go into that expecting not like a classic superhero movie, like well, not a classic superhero movie, but like the basic modern superhero movie with action and all that the MCU has. I think people need to adjust to going beyond something basic like that. And I think that we're starting to learn like that there can be other types of superhero movies. Nothing against Marvel, because I know that there's a lot of fans of Marvel out there, and I appreciate them for what they are, but like knowing the Man of Steel was like ahead of that curve and like kind of knew what to do with the superhero genre to make it fresh. I think that's what I really like about Snyder's films, especially Man of Steel, and then Batman v Superman as well. Like the whole concept of like almost a political thriller kind of. I want to say that like it doesn't feel like what you would expect from a superhero movie. It feels like it makes you actually think, and it gives you ideas to throw around.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much what we all hit. What we hit on is what really drew us in, and my take was how Man of Steel humanized Superman, Batman vs. Superman, the way it connects, and the grander picture, and how it portrayed Superman more of a god figure, and taking that real world look and saying like, look at this, like if in the real world there was a super being, what the hell would we do? And I think Batman vs. Superman pretty much hits the nail on the head with that. So
yeah, and I always say that I'm like, Snyder's Superman is what Superman would be like if he existed in the real world. You mean to tell me that you would automatically trust this random guy who has all these magical superpowers? Like you're going to just trust him right away? Yeah. Like, no, we're going to be cynical. That's just how we are as people, especially now. We're very cynical. We don't really believe things right off the bat. Trust needs to be earned, especially today. So I feel like that was really covered well, especially in BVS.
Yeah, absolutely. So Zack Snyder Justice League just came out about 9 days ago, right? Yeah, 9 days ago came out. Over there, Colton gave us his thoughts at the beginning of the show. Marcus, let us know your thoughts. What was it that kind of jumped out at you the first time watching the Snyder Cut? Just
the way it feels the same, like structurally, but like executed completely differently. Because like the thing I'm seeing a lot of people throw around as a critique is that, oh, it's the same story. But I'm like, I mean, sure, if you put it in bullet points, maybe it is. But like the way it's done, the characters breathe a lot more. They're developed more naturally. It just feels like it's actually complete. Because I thought the original one was just, it felt very fragmented, you know? Like, I remember watching it and I was in denial. I was like, yeah, that was good. But then the more I think about it, I'm like, you know, something just felt off about it. Like, it just didn't flow. And that's what I really liked about the Snyder Cut, was that it flowed. And it also appealed to me as a comic book fan because, you know, it took those risks. I feel like the Whedon cut didn't really take those risks, like Flash time traveling, for example. Like, why didn't they do that? I mean, the show already did that, so I don't know why they couldn't do that. Then there's Martian Manhunter, which we're familiar with from Supergirl already, so they could have done that too. I mean, there's just so many risks not taken with the original cut that were taken in the Snyder's Justice League that I think just made it exponentially better.
Yeah, well, I think we should, you know, get into that a little bit. I think we all have a pretty good understanding that we've all enjoyed the Snyder Cut. I have a very, very in-depth review on the channel that you guys can check out. I don't want to sit here and review it. I do want to say, you know, the thing that kind of what grasped me with the movie and why I got involved with the movement was the artistic integrity. I wanted to see what Zack could do and see his true vision. But when I watched the movie, it was literally just the scale of the film. It felt so much larger than what was out in 2017, and it felt like a continuation of Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman, whereas the 2017 version just did not. With the exception of the resurrection of Superman, there was nothing that really connected and felt like, okay, this is a continuation. So for me, that was what really pulled me into the movie whenever I was sitting there watching it. Even in the beginning, that opening scene, and even though it's just from a different angle, a different perspective of a scene that we just saw in Batman vs Superman, it just made it feel so much larger than the 2017 version was. But what is your take? Both of you, I want to get both of your takes on it here. And DC Talk real quick says Superman Flight 2.0. He says Aquaman and Steppenwolf fight, Wonder Woman tearing apart the bad guys. All great moments in that movie. All great moments. But
the decapitation of Steppenwolf.
Oh, that was great.
I want to hear your thoughts on the whole restore the Snyderverse thing. I was kind of hesitant in going that route here, but because other shows have been talking so much about it lately. But I kind of want to get your opinions. I want to hear what your thoughts are. What you think? Is it a possibility? Do you think we're going about it the right way? What do you think of Ann Sarnoff's comments? Just, you know, let's go with that route here. I'll start with Marcus. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that at this point, the Snyder Cut or Snyderverse fandom is kind of like an unstoppable train at this point. Like, we already got a Zack Snyder's Justice League, and people are demanding more. Like, if you look on Twitter, you just see there's so much more of a presence for this universe now that the casual viewers, on top of, you know, the hardcore fans, have been exposed to it, and they kind of. I guess there's kind of more of like a backing for it, and I feel like that's something they can't ignore. I mean, you see Ann Sarnoff saying, "Oh, this is it for Zack Snyder. He's not going to get anything more." But like, the way I see it, like, why not? You know, because we already got something that we really enjoy, and more people are demanding for it than before. So like, it seems like a huge step back to be doing that. And the way I see it is, it's just a whole pride thing from WB's side, where they don't want to admit that they were wrong about this, and they want to just continue with what they're doing. I mean, it really is annoying. But at the end of the day, we have to realize that Warner Brothers isn't the only person who's like in charge of figuring all this stuff out. I think HBO Max is a huge player in this, and I have faith that they're going to do it in one way or another, whether it be animated or live action. I feel like they're going to handle it properly, because I mean, someone has to listen to the fans, and it's really sad that we as fans have to fight so hard for something that the studios should be giving us, because they see how much of a reaction they're getting. So like, the fact that we have to, like, you know, campaign for this even after the success of a really good film, that's just baffles me, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, it's all you. Cool.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Like I said before, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. I mean,
yeah,
either enough of an uproar or just the sheer numbers that Zack Snyder's Cut's bringing in. Someone has to pay attention to it, whether it's, what was her name? Ann? I'm terrible with names. Whether Ann's boss or like AT&T or Warner Brothers or whoever has to look. Like, it's not something you just blow the numbers off of. Like, you can try to cover it up as much as you want, but when HBO Max is crashing left and right, I mean, something's happening here.
Yeah, I mean, it's really an interesting predicament. I know after those comments that came out from Ann Sarnoff in the Variety article, there was a lot of people out there, YouTubers, scoopers, whatever you want to call them, that were out there. Even different outlets. I think even the Culture Nerd, I think Taylor over at Culture Nerd even put out a statement about it. But they're all sitting there saying she doesn't have the final say. She doesn't have the final say. She doesn't have the final say.
Yep.
And they keep saying that. And while I wholeheartedly agree, I do agree with that. And I kind of mentioned this on my show the other day. Yes, there are people above her that do have a more final say than she does. But she was hired for a specific reason. She was hired to run these studios, to run these companies, to allow them to create content for this company to make money. For whatever reason, for whatever reason it is, she does not want to continue the Snyderverse, or she's making it sound like she does not want to continue the Snyderverse. That is technically her decision. Yes, Jason Kilar could come in and say, hey, we want to continue it, just like he and AT&T did with the Snyder Cut. They're the ones that said, hey, we're going to make this happen. We want to release this. And they were against it, but they did it because they said it. If they continuously do that, that does set a pretty bad precedent for that company, because it's basically saying we're going to hire somebody, but we don't like the decisions they're making. We don't like the Now, you have one of two things you could do. You could either micromanage and continuously tell them what to do. Then you're not going to want. Then she's either going to quit, and it's going to be really hard to get somebody else in there, or you're going to just cause just button heads constantly, and it's not going to be a nice environment to work in. Or what you're going to do is you're going to have to fire this person and get a yes man in there, because it's not a good precedent to set. I've worked at enough companies to know that when you hire a manager for something, this is essentially what it is. When I was hired as a manager of Hollywood Video, my district manager was putting me in charge because she believed I could do what needed to be done to bring that store up to a higher level. If I didn't do it, she wouldn't go there. She would go there and say, okay, you're not doing great. Let's try this. Or she would say, you know what? It's not working out. You're fired. She wouldn't continuously put me in this spot of saying, well, I'm going to overrule your decision here. I'm going to overrule your decision here. I'm going to overrule your decision here. And they're a big company, and they're not going to continuously do that. So after her remarks in Variety, which I still to this day think has been very unprofessional, I felt that it was incompetent. It was just not the right thing to say, because regardless of her feelings on the Snyder Cut, on it being released, if she was for or against it, because let's face it, it seems like she's against it, but maybe she was for it. Who knows? But if she was against it, or regardless, what she did that day hurt financially their company.
Yeah.
Because you have people out there, the general audience, who maybe reads Variety, and maybe they have yet to check out Zack Snyder's Justice League. And they're going, oh, this is it? There's nothing after that? Why am I going to watch it? Why should I be excited about it? You have fans who are celebrating and having a grand old time for 5 days. Mm-hmm. This movie's amazing. This movie's amazing. And then it turns around. Oh, look, they don't want to do this. They have they have good intentions, but it turns negative in a way. And the press becomes negative, and then you have general audience. You have people saying, "Wow, these people, this fandom doesn't sound like it'd be fun to be part of," And that's why this event here, UsUnited, is so important. And that's kind of what Ann Sarnoff did there. Was she did something that I got a hair on there. Anyways, she did something that hurts the business side of things, and she should be held accountable for it. And that's what worries me, because as far as we know, she wasn't held accountable. And we hear rumors now that there's gag orders of some sort over at Warner Brothers, Warner Media, that nobody's allowed to talk about the Snyder Cut or the Snyderverse at all. What does that mean for it? There's so much that's going on now that while I have hope And again, everything that I've heard and, talking to, Taylor, Matt from Lightcast and Taylor from The Culture Nerd, talking to them, they have hope. They have their people they talk to who say, things are moving. I believe that. But I also believe that there is a chance that it may just fall apart. And that's what kind of scares me, because regardless of how good this movie is done, how big this movie was, crashing different streaming services around the world, and just the blue check marks just loving it, and different critics and outlets loving it, it doesn't seem like it's been enough so far. And you have to ask yourself, you have to start wondering, what is enough? 1.5 million tweets the other day isn't enough, beating Avengers Endgame hype. So when does it become enough for the studio to say, okay, let's invest $200-300 million into Zack Snyder to finish an arc that we never intended to complete 3 years ago? And that's kind of where it stands. If you're watching, what do you guys think? Throw in the comments what your thoughts are on this. Do you think it's possible? What are the hurdles that you see in this possibly happening? Because what from a fan, from our standpoint, all three of us here, what has been accomplished to this point has been absolutely amazing. But why is the studios? Why is Warner, even Warner Media isn't saying much? Why are they not coming out and even just thanking the fans? That's what Ann Sarnoff should have done in that article. Mm-hmm. She should have come out and said, Zack Snyder's Justice League has come out. It's a massive hit. Thank you to the fans for doing that. Next question. That's all she needed to do. But she had to specifically, and she was like, nope, it's not happening. No, we're not getting David Ayer Suicide Squad. This was his trilogy, but there was no reason for that, because that's killing hype. That's killing the excitement. Yeah. So when is it enough for the studio to come out and thank the fans for making them their biggest hit that they've had in 2 or 3 years? That's kind of
a GoFundMe for $200 or $300 million.
I don't know. It's just weird to me that a company, that's on the same levels like Disney or whatever, that they don't listen to their fans. Like, it actually baffles me how much they're willing to ignore. Like, they purposely try to sabotage the Snyder Cut throughout the process. And don't forget that at the beginning of the Snyder Cut movement, we were told it wasn't even real. Like,
yeah,
I just don't understand how as a company they can ignore their consumers, who are supposed to be the most important people to them. And I think it's just pride. I feel like that's all it is, that they want to do things the way they want to do it, and they don't want to be told that they're doing it wrong. But they need to listen to their consumers. It's like basic business.
But let's take a look at it this way. So you brought up Marvel, with the whole listening to fans thing, and you're right. Marvel does listen to their fans to a certain point. It was fans were fan casting Brie Larson for Captain Marvel. Terrible casting, by the way, but that's what they were fan casting, and she got the part. Whether it was because of the fans or not, I can't say, but she got the part after there were so many people saying, "Oh, Brie Larson." The Black Widow movie, which has been delayed 5,000 times now,
amazing for 10 years now,
has been built up. The fans have wanted it for 10, 11 years. Mm-hmm. And they finally did it. They were finally like, you're right. You know what? This is something that we probably should have done. It's 10 years too late, but they're finally doing it. So, that's what's amazing. Zevervet, what up, guys? What's going on, Zevervet? Thanks for stopping by. Great. You guys had a great show earlier today. Thanks for stopping by. Let's see here. Okay. Sorry, I got somebody else coming on here in a second.
It's been 1 second. I'll be the ball buster.
But you're right, Marcus. You kind of hit it right when you were saying pride. But here's the kicker. They had an out. They had the easiest out that they could ever have had. And they could have simply said, look, prior to AT&T buying out Warner Brothers, there was an old regime here. They made some decisions, and that was their decisions. Good or bad, those were their decisions. right now, we're interested in making great content across the board, DC, non-DC related, and we will listen to the fans. And sometimes we'll take their ideas and run with them. Sometimes we won't. But we're going to tell you this. We're going to do our best to not make the same mistakes that the old regime made. Boom, done. How am I doing it better than they are? Like that's
Poor management.
That's the big thing. Like why can they not just grasp that whole idea? And I don't know. it baffles me. It really does.
Same.
Definitely does.
Same.
We got another guest coming on here. It is actually the man who is going to be hosting the next show after this one, and it is Josh. What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
What's going on? Josh from Lightcast or DCU News. What's up, man? So what do you got lined up for your show later today?
We're just gonna be talking about Justice League and just like the DCEU in general. I'm gonna be joined by a couple of people from the Cultured Nerd, so like TJ and Sean and stuff. And we're gonna talk about the movie, talk about like how impactful it's been, and just like how much we kind of like appreciate. It's gonna be really fun. I'm actually really excited about it. I'm a massive DC fan. Obviously, got my little Batman animated series action going on over here. But yeah, no, I'm super excited to just talk about Zack and his movies because they're awesome.
So we were kind of just talking. I don't know if you heard it all, but we were talking about the Restore the Snyderverse and the likelihood of it happening, and why the studio has refused to acknowledge or even thank the fans for making the Snyder Cut a success. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's disappointing but not surprising because WB at every turn has been pretty much against Snyder's vision, whether that's because of like the critical success and and how reactionary they are when it comes to getting like bad reviews, i.e. BVS, which kind of turned into all of the kind of the different direction that they wanted to take Justice League in. The fact that they like haven't come out and said anything, especially about the numbers, which I find actually more hilarious than anything, because they know that they have a beast on their hands, and that by releasing the cut, they're only making this beast stronger. And that's evident by the over 1 million tweets for Restore the Snyderverse. And I think Warner Brothers is afraid because they have this preconceived notion on how DC films should be, and they feel that since Zack's films don't kind of fit into that kind of box, that they shouldn't kind of go in that direction. But they're talking out of both sides of their mouth because they're talking about having a multiverse. They're talking about there being all of these different projects and with like different directors and actors. I mean, we have multiple Superman now. We have Tyler Hoechlin who's playing Superman now. We've got Brandon Routh who did the Kingdom Come version. We have Henry Cavill. So I mean, like the multiverse is there, but like they're talking about the multiverse, but they're not actually putting forth any effort to, I guess, reiterate that, which I find ridiculous. But Warner Brothers is a very interesting studio, and me personally, I don't believe there's any way possible that they're gonna stop this train. There are things on the horizon. I feel like it's going to happen eventually. Like that, Snyder's going to get more, just based off of like things that I've heard. But yeah, no, I freaking love this movie, man. This movie's so good. I've seen it like 6 times now.
Yeah, that's about what I'm at. Yeah, it's an amazing movie for sure, and I'm definitely looking forward to your show. I'm not going to be able to sit down and watch it as I want. I got to get dinner for the family and everything, but I will be having it on in the background, checking you out and listening in to what you guys are saying tonight. So I'm looking forward to it for sure. But yeah, guys, I do need to ask you this, Josh. How does it feel now being the host of Lightcast? I mean, fill in the shoes of Matt. How does that feel?
Colossal shoes to fill for sure. Matt's a class act, and I love working with him and Taylor. It's definitely a big undertaking. There's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes of the show than I knew kind of prior to taking the role. But it's been a blast. I've really been enjoying being able to talk to like Joe Morton and being able to share a few words with Ray Fisher after the interview that we had, which is actually going to be going up tomorrow, I believe. I think I can say that. Yeah. Well, if I can't, I just did. So I apologize in
Exclusive. You
the
heard it here.
past. Yeah, right. Boom. Blow it up. But yeah, no, it's been a really exciting journey so far, because I've been doing podcasting and like hosting and stuff for quite a few years now, and I kind of stopped doing my own stuff, just kind of focus on work and my career and stuff. But it's a privilege to be taking over Lightcast. It has a phenomenal fan base, a lot of really like loyal listeners and fans of the show, and fans of Taylor and fans of Matt, and I couldn't be more thrilled to be doing that, kind of carrying Lightcast into like the next step of its evolution. So yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to everything that you bring. Matt's great. I've had him on the show before, but I'm definitely interested to see what you bring, because you are slightly different than Matt in a way, with your delivery and how you are on screen and with your show. So I'm looking forward to it, because it definitely. I mean, don't get me wrong. I hope to see Matt back from time to time. I do want to see him back from time to time on the show.
Don't worry, I'll be dragging him from the depths as soon as I can, anytime.
Yeah, but I'm definitely interested to see what you bring to the show moving forward. I've caught the few shows that have dropped already with you, and it's been great. So definitely, guys, everybody, if you haven't yet, check out Lightcast. They have a lot of great content on there. He's also up next in about 20 minutes, 19 minutes from now. You will be doing your show, so that's exciting. So I don't know if you're sticking around, if you need to leave, it's up to you. It's whatever you want to do, but yeah, we're gonna continue talking here.
Yeah, I can stick around for a little bit.
Cool. So we're getting back to the Restore the Snyderverse stuff here. A lot of people have said in the comments over the past hour and a half here, just what if they continue it in comic book form? What if they continue it in animation? Now, like I said earlier, I'm more like, if there's a chance to release it in live action, that's the way we need to, and we need to push for that. We want that. But, if we can't get that, animation, sure. If we can't even get animation, comic book form, absolutely. Because we want to see what Zack has done. He's such an amazing storyteller, and I think it would be a disservice to not be able to see what he can bring to the screen. But I think because there's such a big following, we all want to see what his story is. And even though they've showed, or we've seen the whiteboards that of the story of what it was supposed to be, we know that he has one or two whiteboards, maybe more, that he hasn't shared, that have the evolved story. So let's see where that goes. That's what I'm interested in seeing. And what is all of your takes? Like, what would you like to see, and how would you like them to attack the monster of this story, if there was any way that it could happen? Cold.
Oh man, we were all waiting patiently. I don't even know where to begin. I mean, just take me on the roller coaster. I'm here for the ride. I don't care how it gets done, how you have to do it. I'm just here to watch it, read it, listen to it. It could be a fucking radio show for all I care. I'll still listen to it. I don't care. Just give it to me. Whatever. Take my money. Insert fry meme here. That's all I got to say.
All right, Marcus, you go, man.
And it reminds me of like how we said back in the day, like we're fine with the Snyder Cut even being just like an assembly cut, like not even completed with VFX, and we got it with VFX, and it just goes to show you like what this community can accomplish when we're like fighting for something. So what I personally want to see like the whole film, like I want them to go all the way and like commit to it, but I think they have to conclude it in some way or another, because there's left so many threads hanging on there that like it's hard to ignore it, like especially because all these people are talking about it. Like I was on Twitter a couple days ago and I saw like a bunch of like random celebrities who I don't even know like tweeting Restore the Snyderverse, and I was like, there's no way they're going to be able to ignore it completely.
Brad Paisley
out of all people.
He's cooler online.
Probably.
Yeah. And it's just like it kind of baffles me that these big name people who you don't think are into like superhero movies and stuff, they're advocating for it. So like I think we can accomplish that, like the full live action stuff, but if we can't do that, I personally hope it at least gets animated, but I just want to see something, because they can't just leave us hanging like that.
For sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, what are your thoughts, Josh? I mean, if they came and said, "Look, live action isn't happening," where would you want to see it go?
Well, I mean, of course, just I would want there to be like live action. I want live action Justice League Part 2 and Part 3, just because just the sheer scale of the first one is like pales in comparison to what Justice League 3 would look like. If live action isn't the way to go, I would love to see animation. I think that would be an interesting route, because Zack does have an animated film under his belt. I think it was like Legend of the Guardians or something like that.
His Owl movie.
Yeah. I actually haven't seen it myself, but everyone that I know that has seen it thinks it's a phenomenal film, and I think that would be an interesting direction to kind of take these films if live action isn't available. But I feel like you can only do it in live action. And that's not me saying that I wouldn't, obviously accept and soak in any kind of comics or animation that he would do. But I really do feel like live action is the way to go, just because you need that epic kind of grandiose kind of presentation that I feel for this type of story only live action can really do justice. So that would be the route that I would go. But any way that Zack wants to continue telling his story, I'm game, just because I want to see this concluded. Like Marcus said, there's so many threads that have been left like unfulfilled. You've got Martian Manhunter, you've got Deathstroke now knowing Batman's true name. You have the nightmare sequence. You have all of this stuff. So there's so much untapped potential with Zack's universe. Justice League barely scratched the surface, even though like it was so in depth in and of itself. Mm-hmm. So I just want more, man. I just want more.
Yeah. And like it makes me think, what does a casual viewer think finishing that movie and seeing all those things hanging off the end? Like, what do they think is going to happen next? Because casual fans don't follow this kind of stuff, so they don't know.
I'll let you know tomorrow after my fiance watches it with me tonight.
I actually watched it with my mom a couple of days ago, because she's been staying with me, and she's not like the world's like biggest DC fan. She's not really like the world's massive comic book fan in general. But I wanted to show her the movie because she's a fan of Wonder Woman, she's a fan of Batman and Superman and stuff. And I had asked her beforehand. I was like, "Do you remember watching the theatrical version?" And she was like, "Yeah, kind of, like in bits and pieces." And like we're watching it. We're watching it like. We started at like 10 p.m. Excuse me, and she loved it. She was like, "Oh, this is 1,000 times better than the other one." She referred to it as the other one because of how irrelevant it is. And yeah, no, like casual fans, even my dad has been a massive fan. He's like hoping that there's more to it, and just casual fans that I've seen on like Twitter and Instagram and stuff, people just talking about the film and not being the world's biggest like Snyder fan or being the world's biggest DC fan, but still being invested in the story because there's so much meat and potatoes in Zack's cut. And that's what we were all looking for. The theatrical version was so surface level, it was so bland, and it just felt like one of those cookie cutter movie studio like mandated kind of just like, oh, let's just check the box, this is done, on to the next thing. Whereas Zack really takes the time to flesh out these characters, give them motivations. I mean, look at Steppenwolf, for example. Steppenwolf in the theatrical version was just a dude who was like staring at Amazons and said, "You will all love me." Like, what does that mean? Like what is that? Whereas Zack's, he has motivation, he has drive, he has purpose. He wants to be redeemed in the eyes of Darkseid. He's been slaughtering all of these planets for Darkseid, and you get that much needed character motivation in Steppenwolf and Zack's cut. So yeah, I kind of went on like a little tangent there. So
no, you're fine. I do have another question, and I want to hear your take on it because it's a little bit of topic of discussion right now. We just had the Suicide Squad trailer drop yesterday. I don't really want to talk about that, but we have that. We have the Flash movie coming up. Two movies that Zack is going to be a producer on, both of those movies, I mean, in some form or fashion. Now, a lot of people are sitting there saying, "Oh, we want to restore the Snyderverse, so we need to boycott everything else," and I don't agree with that. But what are your thoughts on all of that? Like, James Gunn's Suicide Squad looks like a James Gunn film. The Flash, they're taking it in a completely different direction than where it was ever supposed to go with Rick Famu. I can't say his last name.
I think it's Rick Famuyiwa. I think is what it is. Yeah.
Then what that was going to go, which was very connected to what Snyder was doing. So what should the fans like? What should we be doing together, united in this regard? Because it's just people are saying boycott, some people are saying not to boycott. What do you guys think is the best route for this? And actually, I want Josh's take on this first.
I'm 100% not down with boycotting any DC films. I understand. I can understand the reasoning behind it and like how fans may feel this is the way to kind of show Warner Brothers, what we really want. I feel like it's not. Excuse me. I feel like it's not. You don't have to be like mutually exclusive to one or the other. Like you can support Zack stuff and be incredibly supportive of him and call for the rest of the Snyderverse while also being excited for Suicide Squad or Black Adam, Flash, the Batman, which is going to be amazing. It just doesn't really make any sense to me that you would just like boycott a movie because you want another one, or want like another movie. That mindset doesn't really kind of make sense to me, but I can understand it. But that's I'm excited for Black Adam. I'm excited for the Flash. I'm seldom interested in the Suicide Squad. I know you don't want to talk about the trailer, but I found it mid as hell. So, but yeah, no, I just want fans to actually be just like united on like one front, and that has been like the whole restore the Snyderverse. But being in that bubble, being in that kind of that camp, doesn't mean that you should have to or you feel obligated to boycott and spam, restore the Snyderverse under every like Warner Brothers like tweet or Instagram post or YouTube video. So I don't believe that boycotting Suicide Squad or whatever is like the route to go for this, because it just makes, I feel like it makes the fandom look bad. I feel like it makes us look like spoiled, like brats almost. It's just like not really the wave. I don't think it's not the wave, man.
No, absolutely. What are your thoughts, Marcus? You're shaking your head a lot.
I'm in agreement with Josh here. I think the whole boycotting thing's kind of like hypocritical, because this whole movement's been about supporting creative and artistic integrity.
Yep.
And then you're going and not supporting other creators besides Zack Snyder. Like, what kind of message is that send? That sounds very hypocritical. Like it goes from defending artistic integrity to defending Zack Snyder's integrity, which, don't get me wrong, is obviously, what started this movement, but it's bigger than that. It's like supporting artistic integrity in general. Because like, think about how this impacted the film history in general. Like, this is the first time anything like this has happened. Like, who's to say something like this can't happen in the future with another creator? So like, it's all about supporting creators in general, not just supporting like one specific creator that you enjoy.
Golden, you got anything to add?
I think the Snyder Cut fans need to take a page out of 2017 Star Wars fans. We threw a fit over The Last Jedi and boycotted Solo, which Solo was an amazing film in and of itself, but no one saw it, so it's never going to get its sequel or the trilogy or whatever it was supposed to be. And what if Suicide Squad falls in the same thing? Everybody boycotts it. It's an amazing film. We never see a sequel. We kind of just have to deal with it, view it, take it in stride.
It's a good way to put it. Absolutely. All right. Well, Josh, thanks for jumping on. I know your show's starting in less than 10 minutes, so definitely take it easy and make sure everybody head over to Lightcast Podcast to check out his show in 8 minutes or so. 6 minutes now. Jeez.
Yeah, no, thanks for letting me come on for a little bit to talk. We'll definitely have to do this again in some longer format at some point.
Absolutely, man. Love to have you back on, man.
All right, see you.
Take it easy.
Bye.
Let's see. Joker Fleckcast released the Lord Miller cut. Minutes of Solo. It's about supporting something we love, not about hating on things we think we won't like. Exactly. Solo was completed almost 90% by Lord and Miller. Again, the percentage, it doesn't matter. I'd like to see what Lord and Miller were doing with it. I definitely would like to see what they were doing with that film, because nothing against Ron Howard. I'm a Ron Howard fan, but I would have liked to have seen it. And Poindexter, hey, Poindexter saying Colton is right. Whoa!
Hey, that never happens. Literally never happens.
We cannot become the fandom menace on this. Absolutely. Let's not get into the fandom menace, though, because that's a whole other talk discussion. But I do want to remind everybody that the Us United event schedule is right here. Day one, we had 4 Nerds, Pop Culture Corner, and us, Virginia Geekdoms, already have shows. Next up, Lightcast Podcast at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Then we have World's Finest, then Poindexter Lounge. And I wasn't sure if I was able to say anything about it, but I'm taking a look at his YouTube, and it all is up there on his thumbnail. He does have 2 special guests tonight. One is the one and only Ray Fisher, but he's also going to have Ray Porter, Darkseid himself, on there as well. So make sure you check out Poindexter Lounge tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern. I can't wait to tune into that. Tomorrow, the day starts a little bit later with Super Hive. She's one of the most passionate fans and YouTubers that I've ever seen. I absolutely love the passion and heart that she brings to everything. Check out her show at 2 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. Then Multiversity at 4 p.m., Fatal J at 6 p.m., and then we finish off the event tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, with the Lewis Centeno show. So make sure, if you guys haven't seen the schedule, there it is. It's all over our Twitters as well. So make sure you find our Twitters, all of our Twitters. It's all there. Make sure you check that out. Let's see. What do we got here? Anthony and Gruber is Han Solo. Look, I know a lot of people were talking about Anthony and Gruber prior to Solo coming out, and then Alden Ehrenreich was cast. I didn't hate Alden Ehrenreich. I thought he did a good job. I actually really enjoy his take. I like how he made the character his own. And was he a Harrison Ford clone? No, but that's not what I want. That's why I'm okay with them recasting the legacy characters in Star Wars, because I want to see their stories continue, but I also want them to make it their own character, much as like what has been done with the Joker, much as what has been done with Batman, so on and so forth. So those are my thoughts on it, but this isn't a Star Wars show. We have a Star Wars show on my channel called Shooting the Sith. So make sure you find that. We haven't had a show for a while. Maybe if Colton and I maybe discuss a topic, maybe in a couple of weeks, we'll do a Shooting the Sith special, but we do have that. But guys, is there anything else you want to say? We got a few minutes left. Thanks for coming on, Marcus, but is there anything else you guys want to talk about?
Watch it 17 more times.
Pretty much.
Oh, man. Poindexter, one more comment I'll look at. Poindexter, Solo was great. It's so sad that people didn't see it. Every week I hear from 2 to 5 people that have just discovered Solo and love it. Yes.
And that's what we need to not have happen to Suicide Squad.
Yeah, that's what we have to have.
Just go watch it. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Marcus, I'm going to kick you out here as I start to wind down. So thanks for joining us. I think you're going to be jumping over on Lightcast, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to be on
So
there.
enjoy the day, everybody. Thank you so much. Make sure you head to AFSP, the Autumn Snyder Fund. Make sure you go and get a T-shirt here at Ink to the People, all that jazz. Good times. Thanks, Marcus. I will talk to you later.
Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Colton, up next. Make sure to jump to Lightcast next. We're going to be closing out the show.
Don't jump. It's dangerous. Briskly walk. Take your time. Take a pee break. 2-hour streams are kind of long. So if you got to pee, go pee. Get yourself a drink. Get some snacks. Fuel up. Turn on Snyder Cut and enjoy Lightcast.
Yeah, exactly. But again, thank you everybody for just joining and watching us and all of our shenanigans here. I do ask, that hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Find us again. This was a special event. Maybe check out some of our shows. See what we're about when it's not talking about Justice League solely or Zack Snyder solely, because we have a lot of fun. We really do. I'm looking forward to having some guests on the show very soon. Again, Colton and I just got back into the swing of things doing this on a weekly basis. So looking forward to that. But guys, thanks for watching. I'm going to play the video here to end the show. I'm going to finish the video. I hope you all enjoy and watch. And thank you, everybody, for watching.
Enjoy the video. Bye.
I hope you are doing well. Huge fan from Egypt and a big supporter since the day one. I have been fighting all along for this movie, and the dream has come. Your work has meant to me a lot of love, passion, sympathy, and a true thank to you for your dedication and hard work in completing Zack Snyder's Justice League. Thank you, Zack Snyder. Thank you.
Frankly, I have no words to describe what Zack Snyder's work, not only his films, but his charity work means to me.
Hello, Mr. Zack Snyder. My name is Joshua, and I'm a huge fan of your work from Honolulu, Hawaii. I wrote a little message here for you, so please bear with me while I read it aloud. I want to wish you and your wife, Deborah, and the rest of your family great health, happiness, safety, and prosperity for the rest of your lives. May God bless you and continue to watch over you and your family. I want to congratulate you on your Justice League. I thought it was a beautiful and epic cinematic masterpiece. I found myself laughing, crying, cheering, and jumping for joy. I want to let you know that your cause through AFSP means the world to me. I'm so glad I was able to contribute and be a part of something so beautiful, organic, authentic, and inspiring. I've been anticipating your film since Man of Steel was first announced. The DCEU has been my personal favorite franchise growing up, and you did my heroes justice. I hope you will consider looking into adapting my favorite computer games to live action on the big screen as well, Max Payne 1 to 3 and Half-Life. You would be perfect. In closing, thank you so much for your dedication, passion, perseverance, and the love you put into creating my favorite comic book movie of all time. Mahalo.
Hi Zack, I just want to say thank you for working so hard and giving us a true sequel to Batman v Superman. I really enjoyed watching the story arcs of each League members and how they go through their emotional journeys and how they overcome it. I'm forever grateful to witness the completion of your intended version of the Justice League.
Hello Zack Snyder, I want to say thank you for the Zack Snyder Justice League on 18 March, and I cannot wait to see the whole story of Justice League from you, because when I know about the whole story about the behind the scene, so I decided to support the movement release the Snyder Cut, and I'm really happy. I cannot wait to see all this story on the Justice League on 18 March. Please.
I'm Shobhan Parkar from India. I'm a member of DC community of Bengal. I love Zack Snyder, I love his films. I think Zack Snyder is a visionary director and one of the all-time greats. I find his films to be visual masterpieces. Each scene is intricately carved and made with passion, and that shows. His villain characters are so powerful and inspiring. Zack Snyder, it shows that he really understands the comics. He knows the character, he deconstructs them and puts them into modern tropes which are so inspiring, so fulfilling. Superman, Batman, Cyborg, Flash, Wonder Woman, and I love the level of depth of the mental health issues his films touch on. Thank you Zack Snyder for giving us the Snyderverse. Restore the Snyderverse. UsUnited.
What's up, Zach? I just wanted to thank you for changing my life with your movies. I saw 300 when I was in high school, and that was just like the first time I was blown away by a movie. And I grew up in the 90s as a massive Superman fan, and there wasn't a whole lot of material out there for us. And you changed all that with Man of Steel. And then when BVS came out, my favorite movie of all time, I was just blown away, and I loved it. And I saw it early because we went to a screening of that trailer, and you gave everyone a free ticket. And when Justice League came out, I was just heartbroken. You held SnyderCon. I live in New Jersey. I flew across the country. I needed to meet you. I needed to see what was going on and ask you the question: does Zack Snyder's Justice League exist? And it does. I'm gonna watch it in 2 days. We did it. I knew something had to be done. We all did, and we all came together. And I thank you for that. Now it's my life. I got Farnsworth House from BVS hanging behind me in my apartment. I'm excited for what's to come. Restore the Snyderverse.
Well, this is the first time where I saw Dawn of the Dead. The first time I saw Zack Snyder's film. Now we released the Snyder Cut. The Snyder Cut was released. We all did it. And to say that I'm happy, it's beyond words. Because what does Zack Snyder's Justice League mean to me? Well, as someone who is also part of this film industry, as someone who is an actor, who helps others that make their own films, Zack's films has taught me that I gotta do things with my heart and with my passion. Because when I put my heart and my passion out there, people will see it, and people will like it, and people will fight for you because they agree with what you put out. Powerful art can heal. Zack said that. And it healed all of us. And in turn, it healed him. Because look, take a look at what happened. Biggest thing, I didn't expect it. I did not expect any of this. And now, Zack is that king I'm talking about. So we started something. We gotta do something else. Restore the Snyderverse. Now, I'm gonna go watch a movie.
Well, there it is, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. The three of you that are left. Thank you so much. It's great. Thank you for watching, joining the fight. Make sure you head over to Lightcast. It's going to be in the chat right now. Head over to Lightcast to continue on the day's events. And yeah, with all that said, Colton, you got anything, buddy?
No, watch it 17 more times. Restore the Snyderverse.
Yes, yeah.
They've never fought us united.
Never fought us united. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, take it easy. That's been our show, guys. Thank you so much for watching Bridging the Geekdoms, the Us United More Than a Hashtag event. Make sure you head to the Autumn Snyder Fund to donate to benefit the AFSP. Make sure you head over to Teespring, Ink to the People, inktothepeople.com, Us United event. Find it, buy a t-shirt. All proceeds go to the Autumn Snyder Fund benefiting the AFSP. Thank you all so much for watching, and yeah, we will catch you all next week.